people didn't know how to get a hold of the real estate division, but this is the age of the internet, and so everyone can just Google Utah Real Estate Division or Utah Regulatory Agency for Real Estate or whatever they want to Google. They're going to go straight to the division. And when they do that, they're going to get a person on the phone that's going to hear their complaint. This person on the phone is a member of the investigative staff. And this member of the investigative staff is going to triage that complaint. If it's something really serious, it goes right to the top. If it's something kind of minor or frivolous, it goes right to the bottom. But nevertheless, they're going to listen with patience and they're going to give their opinion to a certain degree. But they're also going to tell the resident of the state of Utah or other person that feels like they've been aggrieved that they have to send in a written complaint. And they make it pretty easy to do that because there's a form on their website they can fill out and sign and submit electronically to the division. So complaining is easier than it ever has been. Now, once they've received this complaint, they will investigate every written complaint. Whether they assign a complaint number to it or not depends on how serious it is. They might make some preliminary calls to you and say, yeah, that's kind of what we thought. Call the consumer back. If the consumer insists on pursuing it, they may then issue a number and then take it from there. But if it's a serious complaint or they want to know more, they have some things that they can do. And one of them is they can send you a copy of the complaint. They'll send one to your broker as well, listing what the complaint is. In a lot of cases, it's a photocopy. And then you have the right to tell your side of the story. You must respond to any complaint received from the division within 10 days after receiving notice of that complaint. So it's very important that you abide by that time period. If you fail to respond within 10 days, it's considered an additional violation. So please respond promptly. If you need additional time to consult your attorney or to pull records together or whatever, then no problem. Call the division, talk to the investigator, and they're real people, and they will help you, maybe by extending the time a little bit, in order so you can be in compliance. But if you don't contact them and ask for additional time, you better stick to the 10-day limit to the money. I mean, it's very important. Once they've received your side of the story, it probably will sound a whole lot different than maybe what the consumer said. And they may then call the consumer back, ask for additional information, talk to you, ask for additional information. They may request a meeting with you to get some additional information or whatever. Sometimes they'll ask you to come down to the division. Sometimes they'll come to your office. It really depends on the nature of everything. Okay, you sent your answer back to the complaint. And the investigator reads through it, and it just doesn't make sense, or it just doesn't wash, or there's something more to this. Well, then they're going to investigate a little bit more. It may be that they decide to hold a hearing. If they hold a hearing, they're going to let you know, and you have a period of time to show up for this hearing. Normally, that's 30 days. If they're pulling you in for a hearing at the real estate division, it's imperative that you take your lawyer. Now, understand, if they're pulling your broker in as well, your broker is going to take the firm's attorney, and that's all well and good, and maybe that's enough. But please remember that the attorney that's employed by your broker is there to protect your broker and the firm, not necessarily you. Now, maybe they'll protect you, and that will be all you need. But on the other hand, you might want to bring your own lawyer as well. You don't want to be offered up as a sacrificial lamb just to protect your broker. But on the other hand, if you haven't done anything wrong, maybe you don't want to take your lawyer. But they didn't have to hold a hearing. Could be that they just talked to you a little bit, sent back a letter to the consumer saying their complaint is unfounded and no further action will be taken. Or it might be that you did do something a little bit technically wrong and they decided to send you a correction letter. If they send you a correction letter, that's a gift from the real estate gods. I mean, for heaven's sakes, do exactly what they ask you to do in the letter. Normally they'll say, we want you to attend a class or something so that you learn more about this, and then we want you to send us a procedural outline so that we know you've implemented steps so that this will never happen again, and we want all this done by the end of this month or next month or something. Do it. You know, I've had broker friends that have received correction letters and they ignored it, much to their peril, because they don't have to send you a correction letter. The cool thing about a correction letter is it's private. It's not on the internet. There is no formal public record in your file. It's just a simple correction letter. But if they pull you in for a hearing, it's serious. There's an old saying, it's not really paranoia if they're really after you. And so you go into the division on a hearing, I would recommend you take a lawyer. And I would recommend if you're an agent, you take a lawyer that represents you. Now, there's only a few lawyers in this state that I would take, and you're going to have to ferret around and find one that is the type of attorney that understands administrative rules, and preferably one that's actually represented agents before the real estate commission in the division previously. And that's only a handful of attorneys. Don't take your family law guy. He doesn't have a clue on what's going on up there. Take someone that knows what's going on. They're probably going to be a little bit more expensive because the rules are tricky and they have to be followed precisely, and you're going to need some representation.